stations! Battle stations!
The National Broadcasting Company's Department of Special Events, cooperating with the United States Navy, presents on this and the three succeeding report is entitled Battle Station. Tonight, the Battle of the Atlantic, Part 1.
Here is a page for history. Here is the story, still incomplete, of a grim uphill fight, of a frantic hunt in 3 million square miles of water for hundreds of submerged needles, the submarines of the Axis. Here is the story of the Battle of the Atlantic. That Sunday, the Japanese Serpent struck our western side.
The White House reports that there has been a Japanese attack on United States bases at Pearl Harbor.
This was it. And suddenly things the man on the street had never thought of became vitally, oh yes, urgently important.
On map of Atlantic and eastern seaboard states of United States. The dotted line, parallel to the coastline, 300 miles offshore, marks the limits of the area to be known for a time as U-Boat Alley.
They were there, the U-boats. They were there somewhere. A neutrality patrol from Halifax to Reykjavik knew they were there, saw 57 of them. Yes, the U-boats were there. And there was tenseness along the sea lanes. Whistling at night on a dark road past a graveyard. January 1st. Still no attacks. But they were there, the U-boats were there. The word of one man is awaited. This man has laid his plans well. 29 of his 50 years are invested in preparations for the battle that awaits just his signal word.
Illustration. Thin-lipped man, seamed face, creator and commander of Germany's U-boat fleet, Vice Admiral Karl Dönitz.
Sie haben es ja mit Geleitzügen schon früher versucht. Wird Ihnen aber nicht
He's sitting
helfen.
at his desk at Kiel.
Wir sind auf alles
As he
vorbereitet.
speaks, he looks at the wall portrait of spike-bearded old Grand Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz, godfather of unrestricted U-boat warfare in World War I. He is answering an anxious inquirer.
Wir kriegen sie auf alle
They
Fälle.
shall sink their
Mit oder
ships
ohne
whether they
Geleit.
sail alone or in convoy.
Ich weiß, was ich zu tun habe, meine
I
Herren.
have a way, gentlemen.
Wir haben Waffen, von denen sich der Feind nicht träumen lässt.
Grand Admiral Tirpitz, the U-boat credo, die Tat ist alles. The deed is all.
Yes, the U-boats are there. There is laughter beneath the sea.
Illustration. The interior of a Nazi submarine.
So geht's besser, viel besser.
Hätten wir schon früher an der englischen Küste operiert, so wären wir nicht mehr hier.
This is the crew of a U-boat. And they're gay, and not without reason. For it's been very hot for them of late in their operations near the western approaches to the British Isles. Now they have the entire Atlantic to prowl. They're happy. A new hunting ground and a fascinating technique to practice.
Rudelsystem. Huh?
Rudelsystem.
Rudelsystem, the technique is called. We know it as the wolf pack strategy.
The U-boats were there, but not heard from. January 1st, 5th, 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th.
Los. Feuer.
Kinderspiel. Bald werden wir ihnen in ihren eigenen Binnengewässern das Leben sauer machen.
This is too easy. This is simplicity itself, they told themselves. Soon they would be operating in our rivers, they thought. And the 10 following days supported that belief. 7 ships sunk, 49,000 tons, and the actions of the U-boat crews demonstrated they had learned von Tirpitz's credo. Die Tat ist alles.
Illustration. Crew of a merchant ship torpedoed off the east coast in a lifeboat.
Keep your shirts on. There's surface to see if we got water and provisions.
Nuts. They don't need to man their guns to find that out.
Hey, maybe they're going to take some of us aboard for questioning. Look out!
Down! Down in the bottom of the boat! Louse's machine gunning us! Are you dirty rat? Why do we come back?
Die Tat ist alles.
The deed is all. The rules have been made for the campaign. Rules with words written by a bloody finger across the face of them. Be ruthless. There had been dashing, cavalierly figures among Germany's submarine commanders in the last war. Ruthless in their destruction of merchant tonnage, but solicitous over the welfare of the survivors. Not Dönnitz's men. The United States Merchant Marine was to learn that. There was much to be learned.
If you hope to get your ship there, Captain, you'll have to change quite a few of the old habits. There are hundreds of Nazi submarines in the Atlantic. You'll have to stay in as close to shore as you can.
You know, Navy men know how to handle fighting ships, but I've been master of a ship since I was that high. I want to be out where I can move around.
You won't find much space to move around in Davy Jones's locker.
There was a lesson to learn, and many merchantmen went to Davy Jones' locker to learn it. Closer and closer the shipping moved in to hug the shoreline, and bolder the U-boats became. Soon the front yard of the United States was in truth U-boat alley. Each TNT-laden shark that churned through the coastal waters struck a blow that was felt throughout the frontier.
Los. Fire! SOS. SOS. City of Memphis. Torpedoed 68 degrees, 11 minutes west. 42 degrees, 20 minutes north. Sinking fast. Abandoned ship ordered. SOS.
Naval District to Eastern Sea Frontier.
Go ahead.
SOS picked up. City of Memphis. Torpedoed 68 degrees, 11 minutes west. 42
Message
degrees,
received.
20 minutes north.
City of Memphis. 68 degrees, 11 minutes east. 42 degrees, 20 minutes north. Henson, take this information to the potting room. Another sinking.
In just a matter of minutes from the time the radio transmitter of the stricken ship spoke its last words, a young ensign strode into the huge room on whose walls spread a map of the Atlantic. And with a long pole pulled from the face of the map, a numbered green disc of celluloid that had represented the city of Memphis, and a black sliver of celluloid that represented the submarine moved to supplant it. Yes, here was the information on which to act. But where were the ships with which to strike back? It is past midnight. But lights of the Eastern Frontier Command burned late that night early in 1942.
Yes?
Another sinking, sir. Off Boston.
Thank you. Gentlemen, while we've been talking, another ship has gone down. The U-boat is able to lie outside our zones of plane patrol until dark, then steal in to strike. There's a remedy, gentlemen. We must find it.
Why wasn't that ship using the Cape Cod Canal?
That isn't the answer. Only the smaller boats can use the canal.
Well, then, the solution is for shipping to move by daylight only. Now, from Boston to Long Island Sound can be made by daylight. From New York to the Delaware Capes is another daylight run. From the Capes to Chesapeake Bay is still another.
We'll add 1/3 to shipping time. But I see no other solution.
Still, that doesn't solve the problem of the traffic below Norfolk. Norfolk to Charleston. What there?
Well, your suggestion seems the best, Captain. Minefields will have to be sown, and our shipping will have to take haven in them during the hours of darkness.
There was laughter beneath the sea. The vital coastwise shipping had been slowed perceptibly, and the nation felt it. Coffee on the ration list, sugar on the ration list. That put the frothy head on the beer of Nazi laughter. The basis of the laugh was satisfaction. Crucially needed war materials were not reaching their destinations on time.
Illustration. An officer of the Navy addresses an officer of the Army.
We believe it's within your power to solve one of our most pressing problems, sir.
Then maybe your problem's solved. What can we do to help?
The U-boats have moved in on our eastern sea frontier, and they're able to operate close to our shores because the patrol planes we have, of which I'm afraid there are too few, aren't able to patrol out far enough. The cruising range is too short.
Sounds like a job for our long-range bombers.
And that was our thought. If we patrol 500 miles out, the U-boats will be forced away from our shore.
Then I'll see to it that an Army Bomber Command is transferred to your control at the earliest possible moment.
You will mark many turns in the Battle of the Atlantic. This was one. An Army Bomber Command was transferred to the Navy, and its men were trained in the tasks of the Navy. Army flyers learned to identify ships from aloft, learned to carry out the tasks of shore patrol. An Army Bomber Command became a Navy task force. And the Navy, from this public place, expresses its gratitude and thanks, for the U-boats slowly were forced farther out to sea, and a round was won. And daily, hourly, the workers in the shipyards of America were doing their bit to choke the laughter that came from beneath the sea.
Illustration. A young lady stands on the platform, gripping the neck of a champagne bottle. She raises it and brings it down on the sleek bow of the ship.
And crashing down the ways of Navy shipyards came another answer to the U-boat. Destroyers. Enough so that by the 14th of May, our coastwise shipping was traveling in convoys from Norfolk to the Gulf. Then, within a month, enough to convoy from New York to the Caribbean. And the effectiveness of the submarine decreased by 95%. There were sinkings, yes, a few, but at a fearful price. For the escort vessels knew their jobs. They had learned.
Illustration. Aboard the USS Fury, an officer stands with an observer, watching an efficient crew man a Y-gun.
Well, do you think you'll get the devil?
We'll see. If we don't, it won't be because we don't know how. You see, we've learned how to toss them out in an effective pattern. There goes the first one. If it isn't deep enough, the next one will be.
I wouldn't like to be caught between the two.
I doubt if the men down below care for it either.
Hey, how can you be sure when you've got yourself?
They don't chalk up a score at headquarters until we bring in the U-boat skipper's pants to prove it.
Who knows when you do get one?
Somebody knows. Durnits.
Durnitz knew. Silent transmitters told him.
U-73. Hallo, U-73. Hallo. Meldung an Kommandantur 6. U-73 seit 11 Tagen verschollen. U-73 vermutlich verloren. U-73.
No, U-73 will not answer. U-73 has spread its blanket of oil on the Atlantic battlefield to be dissipated by the unconcerned waves and forgotten to all. Except the man who runs his fingers through close-cropped hair, turns and glares at the face of Grand Admiral von Tirpitz. The unoffended portrait returns the stare. I didn't have the answer in 1918, the painted eyes say. Have you?
Der Feind kann doch nicht Geleitzüge
They
eingewechselt
cannot
haben.
convoy everywhere.
Befehlsausgabe. Sofort auf Karibische See und Golf von Mexiko
Order them to
feuern.
move to the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico.
If Dönitz thought the United States Navy could not convoy within the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, it was because he could not hear the crash of countless magnums of champagne against the prows of new escort vessels. That sound could not be heard across the Atlantic. But it could be heard where laughter was dying beneath the sea.
Illustration. The tense crew of a U-boat that had a few minutes before been attacking a seemingly helpless merchantman now watch an indicator that marks the depth of their dive.
Irgendwas ist nicht in Ordnung.
One remarks that something has gone wrong. Another observes that that is not unusual of late. This crew can be seen tense as a depth charge thunders nearby. There is little laughter now. One tries to joke, says that maybe this is the way they're to get the leave they've been promised. He is told that he is not so funny. The craft quivers like a wounded animal as a depth charge releases its might nearby. One is sure that some of the seams have been opened by that charge. The speed of the descent that once seemed quite adequate does not seem so now. One of the crew remarks that the Americans are learning too much too fast, and his fellow crew members seem to agree.
Don't be misled. The battle was not going our way even then. Far from it. Sinkings were increasing.
Figure 2. Sinkings in ships from January 14th, 1942 to May 14th, 1942. 175 ships. Sinkings in ships from May 14th to September 14th. 197 ships.
Sinkings were increasing. But now the eastern sea frontier, under the command of Vice Admiral Adolphus Andrews, was being armed, and the Navy was striking back. The U-boats had been driven to a greater degree from U-boat alley, forced out into the sea to prey on lone ships which were too fast to travel in the convoys. But the varieties of U-boat attack are infinite, and Dönitz's Rudelsystem had its share of successes.
We are traveling in a convoy eastward.
Number 4-1. Number 4-1. Alter your course 2 points to starboard.
It is dark and silent this night. Only the sound of our prow slashing into the sea ahead is heard. That and the hum of the engines below. No light showing. But there are shapes in the mixture of moonlight and haze. Other ships in the convoy, in files 200 cables apart, cutting a zigzag course through the black waters. A submarine pack has been reported in this area. Then, suddenly, the hitherto silent radiophone begins to speak.
Submarine sighted. Off to port.
All right, go after it.
The screen of ships in the escort line turns off to stalk down the marauder, and the merchantmen of the convoy move along in the silver haze. Then, an explosion. Flames leap from a stricken tanker. The darkness gone. Scene a nightmare of red light and ships thrown into silhouette. More torpedoes find their marks.
Trotz allem, wir werden sie schon kriegen.
Yes, Dönitz had a way. A submarine would allow itself to be sighted, this to draw up the escort vessels in pursuit. Then the other members of its pack worked into the center of the convoy and fired torpedoes in all directions. It worked once, then with variations again, then with still other variations again. But with decreasing success, for experience, the teacher had brought defense almost even with attack. It merited a cautious word of optimism.
Can you say anything for publication on the battle against the subs, sir?
I can say that some of the recent visitors to our territorial waters will never enjoy the return portion of their voyage. Furthermore, the percentage of one-way traffic is increasing, while that of two-way traffic is satisfactorily on the decline. But there will be no information given out about the fate of the submarine excursionists who don't get home until that information is no longer of aid and comfort to the enemy. The Nazis think themselves pretty clever in the field of psychological warfare. Secrecy surrounding the fate of their submarines is a counter blow the American people can give them, which may serve to shake some of their super confidence.
How was the superconfidence of the men who not long ago laughed under the sea? The words spoken in a press conference soon crackle in the air, and submarines have ears.
Illustration. The crew of a submarine listens.
I can say that some of the recent visitors to our territorial waters
These men affect a casual, mocking expression. Their radio has told them of the ineffectiveness of the American defenses against submarines. But their radio has lied to them before.
Was sagt er denn? Was sagt er denn?
Sagt, dass viele von uns jetzt nicht mehr heimkommen. Viele spurlos versenkt.
They laugh, but their laughter has a hollowness that causes them to look aside at their crewmates. Could not this be true, their eyes ask?
Der Idiot, der lügt doch, was?
One is bold enough to venture a question of how much of this is true.
Alles
None of it, another responds. It's all rubbish. And they eagerly agree among themselves. But they are interested.
Was sagt denn jetzt der Idiot? Was sagt
What is the idiot blowing about now?
Was sagt er denn jetzt?
Er sagt nur, dass die Ungewissheit über das Schicksal so viele unserer U-Boote uns hart
Their faces must not betray it, each resolves to himself. But there could be something to all this talk of U-boats being destroyed.
So ein Unsinn. Stell ab.
Die übertreiben drüben wahrscheinlich genauso, wie die bei uns zu Hause übertreiben.
This bold fellow suggests that our radio probably exaggerates as theirs does.
Weißt du noch, wie wir den 3000 Tonner vor den Azoren versenkt haben?
It goes on to recall that a 3,000-ton vessel they had sunk was reported on the Nazi transmitters as being a 10,000-ton ship. This is the seed of doubt that will grow.
The seed of doubt is planted, and it will grow. Yes, the number of sinkings was steadily increasing, but in the most part, this was because of the daring born of desperation that drove the U-boat commanders in their efforts to stop the flow of war materials that were slowly blunting the knife of Nazi attacks against the Russians. The German losses in submarine were commensurate with ours in shipping. How many were sent to the bottom is a secret that only the end of the war will bring to light. A cautious statement from the Navy Department said that all was going reasonably well, which means that the opposite is true with the affairs of the man behind the desk beneath the portrait at Kiel. At some time between the 14th of January, 1942 and today, the tide turned in the Battle of the Atlantic. It'll be for future historians and not this report to name the moment. But it may have coincided with a statement made by Secretary of Navy Knox on the night of April 22nd of this year. He said,
"The Nazis are using every submarine they have or can build in an effort to cripple our striking power before it can be aimed at their throat. We accept that challenge, and in accepting it, we are confident of victory. Therefore, this is in effect a warning to the officers and men of the Nazi submarines that each combat voyage they undertake will be more dangerous than the last. This is an honest warning to the crews of German U-boats that each time they go out, there will be a sharply increasing likelihood that they will not come back. Here is the reason why. We are now building, both in Navy and private yards, destroyer escort vessels by the dozens.
Yes, the Secretary's words were heard in the enemy U-boats. Prisoners taken from captured submarines since tell of hearing.
They are almost as effective.
And they were heard by the man who sits beneath the portrait of von Tirpitz, behind a desk in an office in Kiel.
And they are releasing our regular destroyers for combat duty in the Pacific and elsewhere. In addition to vastly increased offensive power on the surface, our aerial protection is being stepped up to a vast extent. We are building auxiliary and converted aircraft carriers literally by the dozens. Like the destroyer escort vessels, these convoy carriers are not something projected for the future. They are already in action. New ones are being added at a rapid rate. These carrier aircraft will be supplemented by long-range patrol planes operating from land bases. Finally, we have developed and are introducing certain new anti-submarine weapons which we prefer the Germans to learn about in action. The Battle of the Atlantic, before it is finally decided, is bound to mean more losses on both sides. But if Hitler suffers enough losses in submarines and crews, he will not be able to replace them. With all our resources, we are working toward the day when Hitler will be forced to admit that he is beaten in the Atlantic. When that day comes, the end of Nazi power will be in sight.
You have heard the history of the Battle of the Atlantic to what we may hope has been its turning point. And there is another story. The story of the men and the mechanisms by which the battle has been brought to this favorable turn. That will be told in part 2 of this document, The Battle of the Atlantic.
This has been the first in a series of 4 programs prepared by the Special Events Department of NBC in cooperation with the Navy Department. Raymond Edward Johnson was heard tonight as the narrator. Tonight's report was written by Charles Gussman. The music was composed and scored by Leo Kempinski, and the orchestra was directed by Joseph Stopak. Battle Stations was directed by Joseph Mansfield. Next Thursday at this same time, Battle Stations. Nursing is one of the highest callings in the service of mankind, and there can be no more exalted service than that to which a nurse dedicates herself, saving lives. And right now there's an urgent and immediate need for student nurses. America needs 65,000 new student nurses now to join the U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps at once. These students are needed to replace the nurses who have already gone into the armed services. So if you would like to be a nurse, write to the U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps, Box 88, New York City. That's U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps, Box 88, New York City. And they'll be happy to send you information about how you can join the Corps. The U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps, Box 88, New York City. However, please do not write unless you meet the following requirements. The age limit is between 17 or 18, depending upon state and nursing school regulations. You must have graduated from high school with satisfactory grades, and of course your health must be good. If you qualify, join the U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps now. Save a life and find your own. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Battle stations. Battle stations.
The National Broadcasting Company's Department of Special Events, cooperating with the United States Navy, is presenting in a series of 4 programs a report to the people of the United States on the progress of its Navy in the war being fought in 5 oceans. Report title, Battle Stations. Tonight, the Battle of the Atlantic, Part 2.
It's a familiar human failing for a futile challenger entering the ring for a return bout to tip his hand, to speak of new stratagems, of new powers. It rallies his supporters to confidence. This time it'll be different, he says. I got the champ figured out. I'll work in with my left hand inside his right hand lead, and I got a heavier punch this time. A paper hanger entered a war with much that same sort of a statement.
In 1918 wurde Deutschland besiegt, weil das Unterseeboot versagte. Heute ist unsere U-Boot-Flotte richtiger als je zuvor. Diesmal werden wir nicht versagen!
Germany was defeated in 1918 because of the failure of the U-boat. Today, our U-boat fleet is powerful. We will not fail again. Right from the feed box, to mix the metaphor, straight from the horse's mouth. And containing a high percentage of truth from a man never noted for his veracity. Germany defeated in 1918 because the U-boat failed. 25% true. Today, Germany's U-boat fleet is powerful. True. Germany will not fail again. We shall see. How has the battle gone? The Battle of the Atlantic. Anxious millions have followed its progress from bad.
January, ships sunk, 32 ships.
To a little better.
February 1943, 20 ships.
To worse.
March 1943, 25 ships.
But what of the enemy? What are his numbers? What is the state of the morale of the enemy's men beneath the sea?
Illustration. Naval officers talk to a member of a captured U-boat crew.
He speaks fair English. Lived in this country a few years.
Would you rather talk in German or in English?
I can speak either language.
However the tide of battle has gone for the men beneath the sea, the arrogance remains.
Name? Rank?
Manfred Holtz, radio man.
How long have you been in the service?
7 years. The Führer's U-boat fleet is not manned by novices.
The officers nod. 7 years of experience is not rare in Dernitz's U-boat fleet. Hitler began to build his weapons for the Battle of the Atlantic in 1935, and to train his men.
How much action have you seen in the Atlantic?
All of it. I have fought in the Atlantic since the start of the war. If you give me a chart, I will show you where our sinkings have been accomplished.
Get a chart for him.
Yes, sir.
He's not trying to be helpful. Their invisibility in battle robs them of the glory they believe should be theirs. This fellow now would like to boast, and perhaps to mislead.
Here's the chart.
Now, if you intend to waste our time with some of the fairy tales they broadcast over your radio...
No. You will recognize the actions I report. That's where we got the first of your ships.
Off Cape Cod. On what date was that?
Oh, sometime late in January. It was very easy then. Simply to follow. Then at dusk. Boom!
And if it was so easy, why didn't you keep it up?
Oh, there was no use taking chances close to your shore when there was unprotected shipping elsewhere.
Plane patrol gave you trouble?
Some.
And our coastwise convoys?
Some. As I say, the chances were unnative.
Needless.
Yeah. Needless when there was unconvoyed shipping elsewhere.
And you haven't had such a good time lately.
Oh, there is some trouble, but we are not entirely helpless against convoys.
No, do you believe that? Do you know how many men you've lost?
No, and neither do you.
And in this, he is partially correct. Unofficial estimates in April placed the Nazi losses then at 12,000 trained officers and men lost or taken prisoner. But this man doesn't know. Only Admiral Dernitz knows accurately.
Where's your control center located?
If you should find out, I would like to know.
Somewhere in France is the Allied guess. The Nazis boast frequently that Allied bombers fly over it regularly, their camouflaged U-boat control center.
How many U-boats do you think you have left?
I would be interested in knowing that, too.
No, he doesn't know. Between 400 and 500 is a frequent guess. 150 of them on the hunting ground simultaneously. But what of this fellow's morale?
Do you think you have a chance of winning the war?
There's not the slightest doubt we shall.
Yes, in March, the Nazi U-boat crew still had the highest morale of the German fighting forces. They were tough, hardened, and they were winning the Battle of the Atlantic last March. This meant postponement of the dreaded Second Front in Europe, for it could not be launched until the steady flow of material of war across the Atlantic was assured. Yes, their morale was high in March, for in February they had had good news.
This is Berlin calling, the overseas service of the Reichsrundfunkgesellschaft. Here's an important announcement from the Führer's headquarters. Vice Admiral Karl Dönitz has been appointed by the Führer to succeed Admiral Erich Raeder as Grand Admiral of the German Navy. Here's a recording of the historic pledge Grand Admiral Dönitz has made to our Führer.
Die gesamte deutsche Kriegsmarine wird in Zukunft in den Dienst des unbeschränkten U-Boot-Krieges gestellt werden.
The entire German Navy will henceforth be put into the service of inexorable U-boat warfare.
Morale was high in the Nazi U-boat fleet in March. The moment of the supreme test had arrived, and their victory was in sight. It was all out now on both sides.
London has announced new attacks by the Allied air forces on Nazi submarine bases at Saint-Nazaire and Lorient.
Blows aimed where they would hurt. For Dönitz's raiders must hold up at least 2 weeks for overhauling and restocking between each sally into the hunting ground. Many weeks longer for repairs to depth-bombed submarines. Blows aimed where they would hurt. In the United States, convoy escort vessels were coming down the ways in unnumbered scores. This, too, was an answer to all-out submarine warfare. The showdown in April. The battle will be won or lost here.
Los!
Feuer!
Or here.
A naval officer turns the dial of a submarine locator sounding device.
You've got one, sir. I got something.
Bridge.
Getting something on the sound detector. 500 yards broad on the starboard bow.
Right.
Progress is tearing the cloak of invisibility from the raiders beneath the sea. You are hearing first a tone sent out by the escort vessel, then that tone as it returns, reflected from the hull of a submarine. And the U-boat, lying beneath the surface, is like an ostrich, with its head buried in the sand.
Set. Fire.
The Battle of April. And the United Nations waited for word of its outcome. No figures, but by the first week of May, cautious words of the outcome began to be heard. From Washington.
A statement by Admiral Ernest J. King, United States Commander-in-Chief, an officer not noted for his optimism in the matter of U-boat warfare.
The submarine menace is being dealt with. We expect to bring it under control now in 4 to 6 months' time.
Then from London.
Winston Churchill, never hasty in his declarations, in substance announced,
in May, for the first time, the Allies destroyed more submarines than the Nazis can build in a month. This has been our goal in the anti-submarine campaign. In fact, we did not expect to attain this rate of destruction until 1944.
And then from, of all places, Berlin.
An official Nazi publication not given to understating successes nor to overstate failure.
However untiring U-boats fight against the American convoys in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean,
It is not possible to strangle enemy supply lines.
Who won the Battle of April?
Losses in April, 14 ships.
Much lower than March.
The Battle of May?
Losses in May, 9 ships.
Lower still.
June. How went the battle in June?
A joint British-United States statement.
June losses from submarine attack were the lowest since the United States entered the war. Fewer submarines are appearing in the Atlantic. They almost never attack the main convoys. But the sinkings of Axis submarines continue, substantial and satisfactory.
Substantial and satisfactory. How with Grand Admiral Dönitz's gastric ulcer? He had boasted that he knew all the answers. Is he at a loss for an answer to the July questions?
A professionally blithe voice from Berlin answers.
Our Admiralty announces that the Reich U-boat fleet has been summoned to home bases to be equipped with a new secret weapon, promised by Grand Admiral Dönitz as the answer to increased Anglo-American shipping. What the new secret weapon is has not been hinted at. But little doubt is allowed that it will be.
Secret weapon. A timely variation on an old theme. Yes, the U-boat fleet disappeared from its old hunting grounds, while the United States' not-so-secret weapons continued to take to the air, to the sea, and old techniques received new polish.
The weapons? DD, DE, SC, PBY, YP, PC, K2, the cutter. Destroyers, destroyer escorts, sub-chasers, patrol planes, converted yachts, patrol ships, blimps. K2 is a blimp. At the start of the war, there were just 4. Today, there are many more. Their specifications and performance an open secret. Their effectiveness well known to the raiders that lurk below the waves. K2, 250 feet long, can cruise up to 2,000 miles at 55 miles an hour. With a crew of 8, armament including machine guns, bombs, and depth charges. They have the ability to patrol 2,000 square miles of ocean every 12 hours, have a visibility of 5 miles in all directions, can see as deep as 70 feet below the surface. K2s hover over the clues, oil smears, air bubbles, the glow of the U-boat at night, the feather of the submarine's wake.
The K2s were there over the Atlantic as the battles of April, May, and June were fought. Now, of DD, DE, PC.
PCs are patrol ships, 170 footers of steel construction. And where are they built? On the shores of the Great Lakes, along the New England coast, and inland. These are the sub-chasers, direct in line of descent from the famous Cinderella boats of the First World War. PC has greater speed than its forebear, greater maneuverability, and its gun power is rapid fire. It's a match for any submarine in a duel. PC was there, fighting the Battle of the Atlantic in April, May, June, July. PC is there now.
All were there. All the weapons, old and new. Here is the destroyer escort, an effective weapon that did its part.
Illustration? The USS Vigilant in bright daylight is patrolling her position in the convoy screen. The crew is alert, more so than usual.
Okay, Joe, you can grab your sleep now.
This your watch?
Uh-huh. Had any excitement?
2 depth charge attacks. You didn't sleep through them, did you?
No, I mean, you had any excitement since then?
Nah, but the skipper figures the U-boats are still around, waiting for a chance to slip inside the escort ring.
Well, if they're gonna try, I got my special brand of hell ready for them. Get your sleep, Joe.
No sleep for Joe. Not for a while. For the phone from Soundman to the bridge speaks.
Contact, Captain. Broad on the starboard bow. Range 500 yards.
How good is it?
Very good. Pretty sure it's a submarine.
Come right to 015.
Right to 015, sir.
General quarters, Captain?
Not this run.
All depth charges ready, sir.
Very good.
The engine room telegraph on the ship's bridge shows her going full speed. All hands are tense as she reaches the estimated point of dropping her ash cans. It's the skipper's judgment when and where to drop them. The sound man has been feeding him information as to the bearing and distance of the hidden submarine. Suddenly from the captain,
Right full rudder. Right full rudder, sir.
Intently, the skipper has his eyes glued on the stopwatch, watching that second hand closely.
Stand by to drop depth charges. Drop one. One drop.
The second hand moves a few points on his stopwatch.
Fire throwers. Both throwers fire. Drop two. Two drop. Drop three. Three drop.
The charges explode at their set depths, and the DE bounces on the waters upheaved from below. The men cling to railings and stanchions until the spray off the fantail has fallen, and the sea slowly recovers from the shock of explosions underwater.
What's the matter, Joe? Can't you sleep?
Are you kidding? Hey, do you think we got a nibble?
Don't know. Just waiting to see.
That slob submarine didn't surface by mistake or something, did it?
No, it was under. Picked up the contact on the sound device.
Man, oh man, would I like to see one of them babies come up with oil spouting out of it?
Submarine breaking water off port quarter. Submarine breaking water off port quarter.
Less than 600 yards away lies the long, gray hull of a Nazi U-boat, its decks awash. The skipper on the deck trains high-powered glasses on the quarry.
Men coming from its conning tower.
Think they're quitting, Captain?
All deck guns open fire.
Oh, so they want to fight, eh?
The deck guns on the DE speak deeply and solemnly and often of destruction. The range shortens, and the shells find their marks in the plates of the submarine, and the 20-millimeter slugs slice across the U-boat deck. Then the sub settles, points its bow toward the sky, and dives to the bottom.
The new destroyer escorts, along with the valiant older types of ships, have struck their blows in the showdown fight. No, these are not secret weapons. Theirs are not cosmic punches. Workmanship, design, and the indefinable, the intangible, the uppercase X in the equation of power account for their successes. The uppercase X, what is it? Call it TM. Not an official designation for this scale-tipping fighting weapon, but let's call it TM. Turnips cannot produce the TM. Not as well, not as many. This is just one phase in the development of TM.
A large room, large and dark, and there's the tingle of alertness in the air, not seen, for it is very dark, just sensed.
Stage one.
Gradually, there is a suggestion of light filling the room. This is the interior of a room. There is a ceiling overhead, yet the haze of dusk fills the room.
Stage two.
Dusk is wiped out in just a moment, and the room is flooded with the luminescence of moonlight. And with the introduction of this light, young men can be seen staring unblinkingly into the void.
Stage three.
Moonlight gives way to the gray of dawn.
This is a phase, a feature of the development of the Navy's most vital weapon, TM, trained men. In special courses of training directed by the Commander-in-Chief of the Atlantic Fleet, they are learning, being trained, to see in near darkness, to be armed in combat with a vital power, trained eyesight. These are TM, successor to the ersatz product now rapidly vanishing in obsolescence, the totalitarian Superman. These are trained free men, Navy weapons that have proved their worth.
Navy gospel. Ships without well-trained men are only ships. Ships with well-trained men are men of war.
The eyes that have sighted the subs, the hands that have set the courses, set the fuses, fired the guns, have written the record that proves the worth of the Navy's intangible. The uppercase X in the equation of power. Trained men.
Yes, we have one of these men here in the studio tonight. He is Joseph K. Brainerd, Seaman First Class, Regular Navy. Where are you from, Joe?
Wycliffe, Ohio. That's just east of Cleveland.
Well, I guess battle stations means more to you than just the name of a radio program.
It sure does. It means life or death to us in the Navy. When general quarters is sounded and we rush to our battle stations, we know that we must get there in a few seconds, whether we're dressed or not, regardless of what we've been doing. Not only our own lives, but the life of our ship depends on every man doing his own job in time of danger.
What about the rest of the time, Joe?
There isn't any other time. Any moment may be dangerous on a ship at sea in time of war. That's why the Navy takes such great pains to train us for action. That's why we study so long and so hard. Why we go through drills. Why we get every detail of our job down pat and go over it time and time again. A ship is run by teamwork. Teamwork involving every man aboard.
At times, does the training get tiresome?
No question about it. At times we get tired of standing watch for hours without anything happening. Especially when you're bitterly cold, and you're soaking wet from spray coming over the bow, and it's dark, and there may be a German submarine 400 yards away and you can't see it. If you try to relax for 5 minutes, that can be a bad 5 minutes.
Why, Joe?
You might come to with a start and see a suspicious-looking object out there in the water. It might turn out to be an empty barrel, or the wake of a porpoise, or even a funny breaking wave or a low cloud in the horizon. But if there's the least bit of doubt in your mind, you pass the word and immediately sound general quarters. Then a guy's off watch compiling up on deck, some with their pants or shoes off, but all of them with their life jackets on, ready for anything.
What happens if it's a false alarm?
Nothing. Nobody squawks about being pulled out of bed or away from chow or the card game. They know it might have been a submarine, and that they might have been in the water by then. They just say, "That's okay, boy, you keep your eye on the water. And if you see something else funny, just give us another buzz. We'll be right back up."
These false alarms and the day-by-day routine on shipboard must get you down at times.
Not exactly, but the tenseness of waiting is bad sometimes. It's a tight feeling, exactly like the feeling you get in a dressing room before a football game. But it goes away as soon as general quarters sounds, and you're ready to do your assignment. But aside from the calls to battle stations, every day is pretty much the same. It's a routine of 4 hours on watch and 8 off. No matter between any day in the week. We're always surprised when we're reminded that it's Sunday, in time for church services. Maybe nothing will happen all day, but it's still important to be ready for anything.
And your listeners are mighty glad that you are ready. Thank you, Seaman Joe Brainerd.
Now on our list of forces in the battle, ESF. ESF. No, not a surface ship, not a secret device, not a secret technique. ESF is the Eastern Sea Frontier, whose defense is controlled by closely integrated frontier units directing the fine science of U-boat detection, directing the task forces that smash the marauders. Somewhere on the Atlantic coast is located the headquarters of the Eastern Sea Frontier, one of the several sea frontiers doing equally valiant work in the Battle of the Atlantic.
Hitler would sell what's left of his soul to have a man here even for a few minutes. For on the wall of the plotting room, a huge map of the Atlantic is dotted with small, numbered, colored shapes of celluloid that show at a glance the situation of every convoy, every ship, every patrol plane, every blimp that plies the waters of the Atlantic, and the location of every reported enemy U-boat. This is the nerve center. Seated at a long table facing the map, silent naval officers, each a specialist in his phase of U-boat eradication. It is only a matter of seconds that the report of a sighted sub is flashed by radio and telephoned to this center, and a matter of only a few seconds more for these silent men to dispatch planes and surface craft to the attack. This is the headquarters of the United States Navy's Eastern Sea Frontier, a vital, powerful force in the Battle of the Atlantic.
The Battle of July is ended, and the United Nations await the significant news of its outcome. The 10th of each month has been the assigned day for the joint release of United States and British communiques on the tide of battle. 2 days overdue now, the report may have come with the distinguished recent visitor to Canada, Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Our history of the Battle of the Atlantic has been brought to the present moment, with just one more development to add. It was a month ago that Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz called his pack home, to be refitted with a secret weapon. A week ago, the German radio fairly crackled with its news.
This is Berlin calling. Our Admiralty has announced its latest masterstroke in the inexorable U-boat warfare against the Anglo-American forces. The Reich submarines have been equipped with a device that will prevent their detection, make them completely invisible.
A direct answer was forthcoming. From the London radio.
This is London. The British Admiralty has just announced an attack by a pack of 30 submarines on an Allied convoy. 2 of the U-boats are reported definitely sunk, and 1 other is quite likely sunk. None of the ships of the convoy nor of the escort vessels was damaged.
It will be for some future historian to record whether it will be the Allied navies or the Axis Naval Command who adds the final perfecting fillip that makes the Axis U-boat completely invisible. But the Battle of the Atlantic goes on. The final score has not been written. Final victory will take more ships, more planes. American workers in the factories have helped bring the battle to the present favorable turn. It is in the workers' power to help bring the final victory. Keep sending the weapons, America. Your Navy will put them to good use.
This has been the second in a series of 4 programs prepared by the Special Events Department of NBC in cooperation with the United States Navy. The script was written by Charles Gussman. The music was composed and scored by Leo Kempinski, and the orchestra directed by Joseph Stopak. The production was under the direction of Joseph Mansfield. Next Thursday at this time, Battle Stations tells the story of the development of the Navy's air arm, of the pioneering that has given the air arm its striking power, the first launching of an aircraft from ship deck, the first landing of an aircraft on ship's deck, pioneering with the catapult, with dive bombing, the first air crossing of the Atlantic. Next week on Battle Stations. Jack Costello speaking. Battle Stations was presented in New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Battle stations! Battle stations!
The National Broadcasting Company's Department of Special Events, cooperating with the United States Navy, presents the third of a series of programs to tell you of your Navy, its accomplishments, its history, its heroes, and its hopes, under the title Battle Stations. Tonight, the Navy's air arm.
Pardon me, yes, you. I've lost my program. Would you tell me what these flying machines are to do?
Why, sure. This is the missile dropping. The flyer will be competing to see which can drop his missile closest to the mark you see in the infield.
Oh, thanks.
1910, and the sports-minded folks living around Halethorpe, Maryland, have come in great crowds to enjoy the latest sport, flying. The flying man is stretching his wings, emerging from the chrysalis, and his daring has given sport a new thrill.
What is the object of this event? Must they be at a certain height when the missile is dropped?
Yeah, I believe that's it. This is a new event.
A silent naval officer has followed the progress of the aviation meet with rapt attention. He does not join in the cheers of the crowd. His eyes are fixed not on the far reaches of this day's sky, but on the horizon, the future. Argosies of magic sails that Tennyson had described 68 years before. Airy navies grappling in the central blue had been the poet's prophetic words. This is Captain Washington Irving Chambers of the United States Navy. The man who sits beside him has enthusiastic comment which he directs to anyone whose eye he catches. The man has turned to Captain Chambers.
This chap has taken enough time to get over the mark, eh?
Yes, but I suppose that's necessary, maneuvering an airship.
There, he dropped it. Now, that was close. No more than 15 feet from the mark. I'd say that takes a knack.
Indeed it must.
This is going to develop into quite a sport, or I miss my guess.
And maybe quite a bit more than that. Excuse me.
Oh, are you leaving now?
Captain Chambers left the stands and walked rapidly to the building at one end of the field where planes were receiving last-minute repairs.
Pardon me, but could you tell me where I'll find Mr. Wright, Mr. Wilbur Wright?
Oh, he ain't at the field now, but there's some of his troop of flyers about, sir.
Would you know how I can reach him?
Well, there's a telephone in the office. You can call him at it.
Mr. Wright, this is Captain W.I. Chambers.
Hello, Captain.
I've corresponded with you, if you'll remember.
Yes, I remember. You're with the Navy.
I'd like to talk with you again. That matter of launching an aircraft from aboard a fighting ship.
No good, Captain. I don't think we're ready for that as yet.
Or perhaps not, Mr. Wright. But let me have one of your flyers, and we'll give it a try anyway.
No, I'm afraid I have to refuse, Captain. No.
Each of Chambers' many arguments met with a no. Each successive refusal was spoken with greater finality. The discouraged naval officer left the hangar building.
Gentlemen, the time is now. There is a place in the Navy for aircraft.
That may be very true with the Army, Chambers. Very interesting, that missile dropping you saw, but the Navy fights its actions in mid-ocean.
Right. Heaven help us if we ever allow an enemy fleet to get close enough to our shore so that aircraft could drop missiles on its units.
But aircraft can go to sea with the ships. Now, Mr. Eugene Ely here is willing to fly the plane as an experiment from the deck of one of our ships. Isn't that right, Ely?
I'm willing to try. I think it can be done.
Ely's a sound flyer. He's been with Curtis. Now he's on his own. I'm confident the airplane belongs in our Navy, even if it's used only for scouting. Noah had his dove. He was ahead of us in the matter of scouting.
Well, I agree with you this far. It should be given a trial. Well, let's see what we can do.
You sure this message is correct? Has it been verified?
Yes, sir. I had it repeated.
USS Birmingham proceed to Norfolk to be at disposal of Captain Chambers for aircraft launching experiment.
Naval constructor William McEntee tackled his job with relish. He'd looked forward for months to this project. The platform he had designed sloped downward to the bow and hung out over the water, 37 feet from the surface.
This is a hell of a Navy. If they want to keep us out of the sun, why don't they just rig up an awning?
Anybody'd want to fly a flying machine off this is great. The men aren't quite as confident as you, Mr. Ely.
So I hear.
You seem to have done a very good job, McEntee. At least it seems that way to me.
Well, 83 feet long. That won't give you a run of much more than 55 feet with your plane on the platform, Ely.
Well, with a downslope to pick up speed, I think that'll be long enough. I'm ready, Captain Chambers. The 14th of November will be all right with me. All right, men. I know you haven't had breakfast yet, but there's a job to do. We're hoisting Mr. Ely's airplane aboard.
Grim skies frowned down on the Norfolk harbor where the Navy was to try on its wings, and everyone aboard the Birmingham was obviously nervous.
The weather isn't going to get any better. Worse, if anything. I'd better start before it does get worse.
I'm not sure it wouldn't be wise to wait for another day, Ely.
No, if airplanes are to be of any use, they'll have to operate in all weather. I wouldn't want to be the cause of wasting the day for all those destroyers. No, I don't mean quite that. I hope their day will be wasted. I'd rather not have to be picked up out of the water by one of them.
At 3 o'clock, Ely, wearing a life preserver, his cap turned around with the bill to the back, goggles over his eyes, climbed to his place in the aircraft. As the engine raced, Captain Chambers, watching from the bridge, was electrified when the craft was seen to start down the platform.
Ely wasn't ready. He didn't give the release signal. He just nodded to the mechanic. He hasn't enough speed.
But it was too late to stop the plane, now rolling down the incline. Ely is seen to tense as the end of the platform nears and he feels no upward lift. Then the plane is plunging down, diving toward the swollen waters of the Chesapeake. He pulls back on the elevator and the craft quivers and begins to level off. The engine fights to pull the craft up above the chopping waves. Too late, for the wheels have touched the surface. Both tips of the propeller have knifed the water. The spray covers Ely.
The craft's pulling up! It's over the water! It's flying!
The craft was flying. Its propeller blade splintered, but it was flying. And for the first time, a navy of the world had wings. Captain Chambers was exultant to see the first of his visions realized.
Every cruiser should be equipped with planes. This is the beginning.
On this day, a sound reverberates. Wings over water. And the sound will have a thunderous echo in years to come. Planes aloft from sea carriers. Not one, but many. Today, this day in November 1910, the United States Navy has been given sharper eyes and a new striking force. But on this day, not all naval authorities agreed on the place of aviation in the Navy. But it was agreed that it might be well for the Navy to have at least one flyer.
There it is, Ellison. Is it what you want? Here, don't you want to read the order?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm to be trained to fly?
The Navy Department has accepted Glenn Curtis's offer to teach one Navy man. You're the one, Lieutenant.
Number one on the roll of Navy flyers, Lieutenant Theodore G. Ellison. These were starts, the launching and the acquiring of a flyer. But resistance remained. Doubters were unconvinced.
We can't build platforms on all our cruisers. Sure, they can get into the air from ships. How are you going to get them back? Right. No, we can't waste any money on it until these flying machines can land in water and go up off it. Or land on the ships some way. I guess that's quite a way off yet.
Quite a way off? No. Chambers' vision went far beyond the initial success. He'd gone to Glenn Curtis with the plans he had made to fly a land plane onto a naval vessel.
Well, the plan looks very feasible to me, Chambers. You say you've got permission to have the landing platform built?
Yes, on the Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania will be in San Francisco this month. Ely's eager to have a try at it.
Well, if you ask me, I think Ely's the right man. Yes, I'll say he is.
A lot depends on the success of this experiment. Aviation in the service will be pushed quite a way along. It will end a lot of doubts.
Eugene Ely is at the controls of his plane. He took off a few minutes ago from the airfield at Tanforan and is headed now to an appointment with destiny. The USS Pennsylvania is headed toward the Golden Gate. 5-knot wind is rushing down the bay as Ely's plane climbs over the San Bruno Hills. He will have to make his landing under the worst possible conditions, downwind. He sees the 120-foot superstructure platform. He sees canvas nets spread out on both sides of the landing strips and swimmers ready to dive in and swim to his aid if something goes wrong. Lines across the deck show him the arresting ropes are in place, ready to be caught up by 3 pairs of steel hooks fastened to his craft beneath him. Well astern of the Pennsylvania, Ely turns toward his landing field, the smallest on which a landing had ever been attempted.
How does it look to you, Curtis?
Well, the tailwind has shifted across the course, Captain. That's not so good. He's going to have trouble making a straight approach to the deck.
He seems to be steadying down, though.
Yes, he has his eye on the center line.
Those arresting lines aren't going to stop that craft at the speed it's going. He's got to catch one of the first of them or he'll go into the barrier.
Hey, look, he's pulling up. He'll clear the ramp.
Good flying.
He's setting down. He's picking up the arresting line. The drag is doing it.
The plane struggles with the drag of the pairs of 50-pound sandbags. Then, with 50 feet to spare, comes to a complete stop. The aircraft carrier has been born. The cosmic keels have been laid for the Lexington, Wasp, Saratoga, Hornet, Enterprise. The dozens of others that have carried will carry the Navy wings to victory. That night aboard the Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir. We have an answer now to every objection that has been raised. Unless they think of some new ones.
Yes, you didn't even need the entire platform, Ely.
Well, no, I didn't. But I don't think a smaller one would be safe.
If the ship had been in motion and sailing into the wind, it would have been easier, don't you think so?
You bet it would. I'm proud that this took place on a ship in my command. This has made a believer out of me.
Oh, I hope you mean that, Captain Pond.
If you ever see my report on this, you'll know.
Gentlemen, I'd say a toast is in order.
You, Captain Chambers, this is your triumph. Yours and Ely's.
Gentlemen, a toast to our healthy orphan, naval aviation.
With these notable triumphs to its name, naval aviation is still an orphan, but gaining enthusiasts. For example,
as a result of this experiment and my observation of the aviation field, I desire to place myself on record as positively assured of the importance of the airplane in future naval warfare. Signed, Captain C.F. Pond, USS Pennsylvania.
the boards of strategy of all important sea powers had eyes on these uncertain pioneer developments of the air fighters of the sea, and the developments came rapidly. A week after Ely's daring demonstration, Glenn Curtis was seen by excited Sunday picnickers along the Coronado shores, skimming over the surf in a strange flying machine that was supported in the water by small boats. The craft lifted from the water, and the crowd was seeing a successful flight by a hydroplane. Old line Navy men blinked, and the conditions of acceptance became fewer. Secretary of the Navy Meyer, who had been immune to the infection of Chambers' enthusiasm, wrote to Curtis,
"When you show me that it is feasible for an airplane to alight alongside a battleship and be hoisted aboard without any false deck to receive it, I shall believe the aeroplane of practical value to the Navy."
Challenge, spark to the volatile champions of naval aircraft. 3 weeks after the test of his hydroplane, Glenn Curtis flew over the USS Pennsylvania, lying at anchor in San Diego Bay, and signaled he would like to come aboard. Captain Pond's response, "Come ahead." And within a few minutes, Curtis was alongside the Pennsylvania. Within a few more, the boat's crane was hooked on the sidings, on the slings on the upper wings, and hoisted aboard. A condition was met, and a promise was kept.
I had hoped for more. But with an appropriation of $25,000, we can be reasonably sure we'll have one aircraft for our one pilot.
Pioneering success is a moving target, and Captain Chambers found new objectives to be met, hard on the heels of each development.
Aircraft will never be any use to a battleship if they need the entire deck for a takeoff platform.
In the summer of 1911, Chambers had one pilot, 2 student aviators, Rogers and Towers, and 3 planes on order. A few months later, he had established a naval aviation camp across the Severn River from the United States Naval Academy. Pilots 2 and 3 on the Navy roll had finished their training and joined Chambers in tackling the next problem.
Well, there it is, men. There's a piece of almost every type of equipment in the service, adapted to some use in that rig. A discarded torpedo tube, a scrapped air tank, and part of the hoisting gear from the old USS Oregon. But it embodies the idea I think will make a catapult.
Yeah, I'm itching to try it, sir, if you say the word.
There's a lot of work to be done on it, Ellison. I'm not even sure it'll be tried at all.
I don't believe what the doctors say, Captain. I can be shot from that and remain conscious.
Am I correct in assuming you're volunteering for a try at it?
You bet I am, whenever you say, sir.
But Lieutenant Ellison was not to have the distinction of being the first human to be propelled from a catapult. A group of sailors who had overheard the conversation between Chambers and Ellison had an idea of their own, and at nightfall returned to the dock with a young new friend.
So your name's Bill, huh?
Yes, sir.
I hear you're quite an authority on the weather, Bill. Ain't that what you heard, Nix?
Uh-huh. That's what I heard. Quite an authority. Gosh, I didn't know I had that reputation.
Oh, you have? Yes, sir. What do you reckon the weather'll be tomorrow?
I guess fair.
Here, sit on this, Bill. You can lean back comfortable.
Thank you, sir, but I
We'll
just...
be sitting beside you in just a minute, Bill. I want to have a private word with my friend first, though. Excuse us?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Reckon we ought to do it?
I got a powerful hankering to know.
He ain't sitting square in the middle of the catapult car.
I'll fix that. Bill, you can be moving to the center of that thing you're sitting on so we can sit right down. We're through talking.
If we're gonna, we gotta do it fast. Give me that air valve.
You comfortable, Bill?
Yes, sir. Real comfortable.
I'm glad.
Look at him go.
Man, oh, man, he went like a bullet.
Reckon he was dead when he hit the water?
I don't know.
What in the world happened?
You all right, Bill?
I'm wet.
Wet, but undeniably alive and conscious. The unofficial experimenters paid for their foreknowledge with a hard night of work recovering the catapult car from the bottom and cleaning it. But the following morning, they exchanged knowing glances when, standing by the hydroplane mounted on the catapult, they overheard Captain Chambers' nervous words to Lieutenant Ellison.
Now, the men in the boats will be on hand to help you if the force of the acceleration renders you unconscious, Ellison.
I don't think I'll need the help, sir. After all the work you've put into this catapult, I hope I won't.
I hope so.
Well, now let's get to work.
The engine racing at its top speed, the air compressor tank ready to expend its force, Ellison's hand is lowered. The signal, and a hammer strikes the release valve.
He's conscious, sir. He's fighting with the elevator. The close wind's catching the craft, but he's conscious. The catapult will work.
He's conscious, Texas.
Uh-huh. He sure is.
Surprised?
Uh-huh. You bet I am.
The takeoff from a catapult proved the principle. The last objection to aircraft taking a place on men of war was pushed aside, and the time had come for aviation to take an authorized place in the United States Navy.
The appointments to the Board of Aeronautics. Your signature is required, Mr. Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt's signature put a Board of Aeronautics to work drawing up comprehensive plans for the organization of a naval aeronautics service, and the air arm had become an official part of the United States Navy. With the coming of the First World War, the air arm faced 1,000 new problems, some of which were solved in action, some posed for later solution. At the war's end, the Navy's newcomer looked back on a short but important record of advance. Advance with one alarming failure. A German U-boat had surfaced one Sunday morning off Cape Cod, and in sight of land started firing shells into a tug-drawn group of barges. A hurried call was made to the nearby naval air station. The flying boat pilots had had many alarms. All had proved to be false reports. This time, as the HS boat swept down along the shore, a U-boat was sighted, making hasty preparations to dive.
Good Lord, it is a submarine. Yeah, and is this going to be easy? It's up to you.
The mechanic worked his way out on the wing to the bomb racks. Lying flat, he reached under the wing and released a bomb. Straight for the bow of the sub. 200 pounds of TNT.
Oh, a dud. I hit a square and the bomb was a dud.
That was the last hit scored by the flying boats. The problem of accuracy in bomb dropping was one that would not be solved until after the war. But it was solved. 1919. Lieutenant, now Major L.H. Sanderson of the United States Marine Corps, leads a group of fellow pilots across a flying field in Haiti.
Hey, what's this all about, Sanderson? Couldn't you just tell us about it?
Nope, you got to see it. Okay, have a look.
Now look. Look at what?
My ship. Look under the fuselage, by the wheels.
By the wheel? What in the devil is that?
Now, we haven't been able to come within a mile of the thing we aim at with our bombs, the way we're dropping them now. What do you think of this for an idea?
Well, if hanging a flour sack under your fuselage is an idea, I'm glad I don't produce them.
Now, wait before you hop on it. Look, I put a bomb in here, and I pull this drawstring to keep it in.
Yeah?
Then I'm up in the air. I spot a target. I dive on it. And on the way down, I yank the drawstring. The sack opens, and the bomb goes on down in the direction I was diving.
Until it reaches your prop, at which time you get yourself blowed to hell.
1 time out of 10. I'm going to try it.
1 to 10 was good odds to a man who pioneered in combat flying techniques. The trial was a success, and dive bombing was born, and a sound was heard that was amplified in the years to come. 1919 was the year of another of the Navy Air Arm's notable firsts. Aviation had reached the stage in which an air crossing of the Atlantic was believed possible, and enthusiasts on both sides of the ocean were eager to be the first to accomplish the feat. 3 British teams of flyers were already at St. John's, Newfoundland, preparing for transatlantic attempts. When the Navy's veteran pilots saw the first of 4 planes on order, the NC-1, the challenge fairly cried for acceptance. Commander Jack Towers' breath suspended when he opened and read an order.
Special duty, report to Rockaway Beach. Proposed transatlantic flight.
Putty Reed, now Rear Admiral Reed, received a like order. So did Pat Bellinger, now Rear Admiral Bellinger. And the NC-1, NC-3, and NC-4 were put in readiness for the flight. From the moment of the first takeoff, the NC-4 showed signs of a contrary nature. Ill fortune piled up for the ship, and only the bad weather that held up the other planes at Cape Pine allowed it to be there when the 3 planes took the air, headed out across the Atlantic. Now the Azores lie behind NC-4, and Reed, Towers, and Bellinger pushed their planes on to Lisbon, on to Plymouth, receiving the cheers reserved for the first flyers to cross the Atlantic. 1943 sees Navy flying boats almost daily crossing the Atlantic with dispatches, medical supplies. Perhaps it was one of the things envisioned by Captain Washington Irving Chambers as he sat watching an air meet in Halethorpe, Maryland, that day in 1910. He had dreamed of navies of the air, but he could not have foreseen all that came about. December 6th, 1941. The aircraft carrier USS Enterprise had been on a secret mission for several months. Weather had delayed it. So instead of arriving on Saturday as had been expected, the planes of Scouting Squadron 6, now warming motors on the flight deck, will be in Sunday morning. The crews of Squadron 6 await the takeoff with eagerness.
Gosh, if you're as sped up as I am, Mr. Clark, I can certainly use that nice juicy leave.
You can say that again for me, mister. I've got radio cauliflower ears. That's what I got. How much leave you reckon you're going to get?
Long enough. Hope it'll be 5 months.
That don't seem too long to me after a 4-year tour of duty.
Say, this may be our last flight together. Hope not, though. You're a swell rear seat man.
Make it good. You've been real nice about keeping me out of the drink. Got so I like keeping dry. Or your radio check's okay, sir.
The plane handlers moved the sleek ships with precision to the line. Precision was an Enterprise watchword. The nation was at peace, but Scout Squadron 6 carried out each maneuver with battle briskness.
Section 4, up. Section 4.
Pilot looks to his rear seat man, grins, winks. This is the last one for a while, the wink says. A flash of color, the signal, and the plane, 31 years, 1 month away in time, 6,000 miles away in distance from Ely's, plunged from the Birmingham's deck. This plane rises smoothly, evenly. There's power to spare. Scout Squadron 6 is making a historic flight. 18 of its planes soar into a sky of peace, to come down, some of them in flames, an hour later as they come into Pearl Harbor, as the Japanese Air Force is striking its first treacherous blow, December 7th, 1941.
Standing by in Norfolk, Virginia, is Rear Admiral Patrick N.L. Bellinger, USN, one of the first naval officers to fly, and holder of the official designation Naval Aviator Number 8. Today, Rear Admiral Bellinger, truly a pioneer in naval aviation, is Commander Air Force Atlantic Fleet and is concerned with anti-submarine warfare in the Atlantic. He speaks to you from Norfolk.
Back in World War I, it was thought that naval aviation did well if it could get planes out and keep the Kaiser's U-boats down temporarily. Now, in World War II, this situation is rather different. We're definitely not satisfied unless we can get the U-boats down, not temporarily, but permanently. 30-odd years ago, in the experimental piano wire and glue stage, naval aviation got scant attention, but it has grown in that short time to one of the major striking forces in the fleet. Everyone who has contributed to this new and powerful weapon in the factories or in the laboratories, in the air or on the ground, can be proud of what naval planes have done all over the world and what they are doing now in the Pacific. For out there, naval aviation is playing a tremendous part in the gathering offensive against Japan. The men who fight from the flat tops are proving the wisdom of that American investment of sweat, money, and material. Here in the Atlantic area, which happens to be my bailiwick, our planes and crews have been assigned a tough job, and they're doing it better as each week goes by. I do not minimize the number of enemy submarines still at large, nor the resourcefulness and determination of the enemy. One good month of U-boat sinkings does not mean that he is licked, but there has been a huge drop in merchant vessel losses since 1942. The number of U-boats permanently berthed on the bottom continues to increase. You have heard recently how planes from an escort carrier, called simply Carrier B for the time being, scored 2 sunk and 8 probables out of 11 attacks within a few days. There are several other escort carriers which have not come home empty-handed. That goes for patrol bombers and blimps as well. There are no parts of the ocean now which are safe for enemy submarines. No places that cannot be reached either by patrol bombers of all types, escort carrier planes, or blimps. To a large extent, the planes from our bases encircling the Atlantic have driven the U-boats far out to sea, and in deep water, our escort carriers, acting in close cooperation with surface ships, are getting convoys through. That is our big job, to get the men and materials across. Naval aviation was a decisive factor in safeguarding the deliveries that made the victories of Tunisia and Sicily possible, and it will be until the challenge of the U-boat is permanently licked.
Thank you, Admiral Bellinger. Next Thursday at this same time, the United States Navy and NBC's Department of Special Events will bring you the 4th and final program in this series, Battle Stations, telling the stirring story of the Navy's air arm in World War II. Next Thursday on Battle Stations. This script was written by Charles Gussman. The music was composed, scored, and directed by Leo Kempinski. And the production was under the direction of Joseph Mansfield. This program came to you from Norfolk and New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company. National Broadcasting Company's Department of Special Events, cooperating with the United States Navy, presents the last of a series of 4 programs to tell you of your Navy, its accomplishments, its history, its heroes, and its hopes, under the title Battle Stations. Tonight, the men of the Navy's air arm in World War II.
I wonder if I'll remember what a gal looks like.
Gee, all those pictures you had in the wall of quarters ought to have kept your memory refreshed.
Yeah, just the same, them kind of gals might have gone out of date since I had my last leave.
These are Navy flying fighters making sounds like normal American young men. Almost an hour ago, they took off from the flight deck of the USS Enterprise. In a few minutes, they will land at a base, and a long-delayed, eagerly awaited leave will begin. This young pilot of Scouting Squadron 6 fastens his eyes on the gray haze at the horizon and listens to the melody of power at his control, to which he adds words, the Navy flyer's creed.
I'm a United States Navy flyer. My countrymen built the best airplane in the world, and entrusted it to me. They trained me to fly it. I will use it to the absolute limit of my power. With my fellow pilots, air crews, and deck crews, my plane and I will do anything necessary to carry out our tremendous responsibilities. I will always remember we are part of an unbeatable combat team, the United States Navy. When the going is fast and rough, I will not falter. I will be uncompromising in every blow I strike. I will be humble in victory. I am a United States Navy flyer. I have dedicated myself to my country with its many millions of all races, colors, and creeds. They and their way of life are worthy of my greatest protective effort. I ask the help of God in making that effort great enough.
Hey, my eyes going bad on me? Looks like a lot of smoke over there off the starboard wing, about 20 miles.
Yeah, I see. Not so unusual to see smoke over these islands, though. They burn the fields out around harvest time.
What kind of fields? They don't burn out oil fields around harvest time.
Say, that smoke is pretty black. And it's coming from the direction of peril.
Hey, look out! Fighter coming in from above to make a run on us. And it ain't one of ours either.
Scouting Squadron 6, which took to the sky with the nation at peace, is arriving at Pearl Harbor in the hour of its people's greatest naval tragedy, at the hour of the nation's precipitous plunge into World War II. American youth and the Navy's fledgling, its air arm, have been challenged. What of America's fighting men? Lorelei voices in the air sang a siren song of contempt.
Our foe is smug. He has nothing to fight for but his smugness. He will not die for that. We fight for the Son of Heaven, and we would die for him.
The soft democracies will now pay for their weakness. They will fall before the strong, the supermen of the new order. And we will...
Nuts.
What of the men of the Navy's air arm? How have they met the challenge? We have read their record, the history they have written at Midway, in the Coral Sea, in the Aleutians, the Solomons, over the Atlantic, at Casablanca, on 100 watery battlefronts. Then are the men of America supermen? Are they fearless? Are they steadfast, unassuming? Do they have tenacity? Do they want to fight? Do they follow instructions? Are they stiff-necked? Do they know for what they fight? Let's look at a few pictures of the men of the Navy's air arm for the answers to those questions. Are they fearless? The aircraft carrier Wasp moves through the waters of the Mediterranean, its flight deck crowded with British Spitfire planes. The American fighter squadron men in the ready room receive instructions from a grim-faced officer.
All right, men. All right. Now, you boys are up next. We're close to Malta. Suppose you know what that means. We're getting close to trouble. You're going to fly over for the rest of the way. You can't expect help from our cargo of fighters. Those Spitfires are needed in Malta. And they've orders to light out for Malta even if it looks like we're going to have an enemy attack. So, about all I can say is good luck.
All right, you guys, hop to it.
All right. Hey, let's go, boys. Come on.
Man your planes. Man your planes. Fighter squadron, just got a report that there are 204 German and Italian bombers out looking for us. We better see them before they see us.
Fearless? No, indeed. These men are not fearless. They have no belief in a special warrior's Valhalla. They have human fears. But they have courage. Courage forged in the fiercer fires of freedom. Fearless? No, indeed. Scared? Yes. But they did their job and did it well. Answer to question 1. Are the men of the Navy's air arm fearless? No. Courageous? Yes. Do they follow instructions? A PBY is on routine patrol duty. The huge flying boat picks its way through puffs of irregular clouds.
All right, I'll take it for a while, Jane.
Okay.
Hey, why don't you drop down and see if you can get all the way under those clouds? Yeah, I think I will. Not much chance of spotting anything if we... Hey, looks to me like something will beam. You sure? Yeah. Yeah, it's a sub, about 2.5 miles. Get on it, boy. They're getting at us with those guns. Stand by to give me a hand on a pull-out. It's going to take all we've got. Pull-out? What the devil are you doing? Going to dive on it. How else can I get down through the cloud?
Very interesting report, Robertson.
Yes, sir. I imagine it is.
I suppose you know the PBY wasn't built for dive bombing.
Yes, sir. I know that.
60-degree angle, 220 knots. Oh, weren't you afraid you'd rip the wings off on the pull-out?
Well, sir, I didn't know. With two of us standing up braced and yanking at the controls.
It seems to have worked. How'd you behave?
Well, sir, why they call our fighter plane the Corsair go wind, I'll never know. My wings were flapping so we could see the tips bend. But they held, sir.
Well, I won't say we encourage that sort of thing, Robertson. But we do like the results you got. Congratulations.
Does the flyer of the Navy Air Arm follow instructions? Yes, sometimes, usually, almost always. But he has been drawn from a nation of free men. He's not an automaton. He thinks for himself, but not of himself. For there are some instructions he has never, will never disregard. 2 Navy airmen adrift in a rubber lifeboat.
This is a devil of a feeling, ain't it?
You can say that again.
Man, I don't know what I'd give to see one of our planes. I suppose they're out looking for us?
If the scrap's over. They'll be out looking when we don't turn up.
It's an awful big ocean to find a couple of little guys in. Oh, brother, I know now what the temptation of the devil means.
What are you talking about?
Radio. When we were going down, just think. I could have switched on, given our location. We'd have been setting pretty. Yeah, I know what temptation means.
2 men on a big ocean, clinging to the hope that they'll be picked up. Real temptation. Understandable temptation. They could have sent out a radio report of their location, but they had been engaging the enemy. Their radio transmitter would have given the enemy valuable information, would have endangered the safety of their comrades. They had been instructed to observe the radio silence during action, and they have obeyed. And the Pacific is a big, lonesome place. But never once since the start of the war has this instruction been disregarded. Does the flyer of the Navy Air Arm follow instructions? Sometimes, usually, almost always. But in matter affecting the safety of his fellows, always. Are they stiff-necked? Our totalitarian foe has graded his supermen with severity. His traditional fighting man is a creature apart. His officer may not concede a greater power of any sort in an inferior officer. But what of the men of America's fighting forces? Listen to a couple of Marine pilots, Navy-trained flyers. There are Japanese units nearby. A Marine lieutenant is flying wing on his division leader, a major.
Zero's above, Major. Watch out. They'll make a run on us as soon as they spot us.
Where? I don't see any zeros.
I do.
I got 20/20 vision. I should be able to see. Where? You're right.
You okay, Major?
Yeah. Give me a hand. Here. Before I use that hand to lean on, I'd like to shake it.
Huh? What's eating you, Major?
I always thought I had eyes, but mine aren't in it with yours.
You mean because I spotted those zeros?
You were a good 10 seconds ahead of me. From now on, fella, I'm flying on your wing. You're leading the division.
Are you kidding?
I am not. You're the lieutenant and I'm the major. But from now on, I'm glad to fly wing on you, and you can lead the division. I'd much rather be an ex-division leader than an ex-major.
Stiff-necked, not by any stretch of the imagination. Our picture of the Navy airmen rounds out. Fearless? No. Courageous, yes. Follow instructions? Sometimes, usually, almost always. Stiff-necked? No, indeed. Steadfast. Is he steadfast? There are the brave men who carry out vital and valuable routine services. They also serve who only watch. We speak of the men who fly our blimps. Yes, they are steadfast, strong in the knowledge that their alertness is preparing future battlefields for victory. We now hear from one who can speak with authority for the men of the lighter-than-aircraft. Their leader is a recognized pioneer in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Charles E. Rosendahl, Chief of Naval Airship Training. Admiral Rosendahl.
In coastal waters of the Atlantic, the Pacific, in the Gulf of Mexico, and elsewhere outside our continental limits, considerable numbers of fast surface vessels of various types, many airplanes of different kinds, and a fair number of blimps comprise the coordinated teams of specialists constantly on the alert as the silent service needed to combat the many modern enemy submarines which have created havoc even in our own front yard. A vast amount of unsung, unseen, unspectacular drudgery must be performed by these thousands of specialists to provide continuous flow of the gigantic support required by our frontline forces at sea, on land, and in the air to engage our scattered enemies successfully. But as well as crossing seas, these vast convoys must get in and out of our harbors and along our shipping lanes safely. There's some tendency to give blimps major credit for stemming submarines along our coasts, but we do not so claim. We do feel, however, that blimps are definitely pulling their weight in this war as members of an important service. While equipped and able to attack and destroy submarines, blimps are primarily watchdogs or bird dogs to detect and flush lurking submarines, then generally turning over actual destruction to their more lethal airplane and surface teammates. Our current relatively great blimp expansion started almost from scratch, with a half-dozen odd and antiquated airships. During World War I, blimps had served the Allies very effectively, but between that and the present war, the United States had designed and built only one new naval patrol blimp. In all those 20-some years, no naval blimp had carried or dropped a bomb or fired a gun. Application of anti-submarine equipment to blimps had been almost nil. Hence, the provision and manning of even partially useful blimps for this war would really be somewhat of an accomplishment. As in World War I, blimps in the present war have enjoyed an exclusive record in that not a single one of the thousands of ships under escort by blimps has ever suffered a successful attack by submarine. Because of inherent characteristics, blimps can and do operate in weather conditions prohibitive to other aircraft. Had development not been interrupted just as we were overcoming their childhood ailments, we might today be making extensive and important use also of very large helium-filled rigid airships as fast, long-range airplane carriers on the high seas. Pioneering work done by the airships Los Angeles, Akron, and Macon proved the launching and recovery of airplanes by airships and everyday operating feasibility. For one thing, I am confident such airship carriers of airplanes could today be rendering efficient service comparable to that the baby flat tops are now doing. And who can say such airships might not have been of incalculable value in the Pacific just before fateful December 7th, 1941. But whether or not we ever have such gigantic airships, blimps are today carrying on worthily in the light of an airfield. And as we become able to shift the accent from quantity to quality, we may expect blimps to become even more effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral Rosendahl. We have seen some of the shadow and some of the substance of this young man who flies on Navy wings, but the overtone is missing. What of the endearing graces? Is he humble in victory? Is he unassuming when his deeds are recognized? Does he covet glory? Let's see.
What about you, Keller? Just a moment, sir. I have to check with Beach on that. Beach, what do you think about
This fighter squadron back aboard the carrier is having coffee and the customary informal chat with the Air Combat Information Officer after a foray. The data of the mission are being compiled.
Well, you can chalk up 1-0 of the Nagoya type, I guess.
Hey, what do you mean, one? I said I saw you knock down two, but I didn't spend all my time watching you either. Sure, Kelly, you got that Charlie. You jumped you from above.
The other men seem to think you got another, Keller.
I'm not saying I did. I think the other Nagoya dived to get away from where it was hot. He was down to about 4,000 feet and still in the dive when I saw him last. Maybe he went all the way down, but I couldn't swear it.
As much as the fighter pilot would like to have another victory to his credit, he will not force the facts. Because above all else, combat figures must be compiled only from known facts. This is not hat-twisting, storybook modesty. It is utter and complete realism. Realism so searching and unqualified that even official honor sometimes cannot stand up under it.
Lieutenant Ziegler contributed materially to the destruction of the vessel by pressing home his attack with skill and determination. Early in the spring, he made the original contact with an enemy
The
submarine.
Navy air personnel of Dutch Harbor stands at attention as one of its number receives the Naval Cross. And here's the citation
Devotion
read.
to duty and self-command in the face of danger were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Lieutenant, my congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
You may dismiss the men.
Dismiss.
Yeah, let's see it, Ziggy. That's swell, Zig. We're proud of you. You're going to get bully at toting all your decorations.
Will you guys lay off? Did any of you ever think, why in the devil I'm now wearing a decoration?
Sure, you did a good job, Zig.
Look, it isn't logical. Day after day, I'm flying over the same water 50 feet above the surface through all this lousy weather we've been having. I could have cracked up any day. Then one day we have decent weather. Everything's perfect. And on a day like that, when I'm flying along, getting a suntan, I happen to lay a pattern around an enemy sub. What the devil am I doing with a medal for that?
Modest? Unassuming? Do those words describe the men of the Navy Air Arm? Not quite. Realistic is a better word. These are the men that the totalitarian supermen contemptuously said were soft, faint-hearted, unwilling to fight unless forced. That was to be democracy's Achilles heel, unwillingness to fight without compulsion. Would the Navy airmen fight without being compelled? The United States Navy Task Force lies off Casablanca Harbor, and on an aircraft carrier, a squadron of dive bombers is being brought into line for a takeoff. A gunner is being besieged by a half-dozen other gunners.
I told you once, no.
Oh, give me a chance, Nick. I ain't been out yet. I'll give you $100 cash.
If you're going to talk dough to him, I can talk louder than all of you. 150, Nick. How about it?
No, I told you no, didn't I? I mean it. I ain't interested.
$200.
230, Nick. That's all the cash I got, but we could work out something.
Look, you guys, I know it's going to be a good, tough fight. And you can't kid me into thinking it isn't going to be. Why, I wouldn't let you talk me out of it for any amount of money.
The rear gunner, who has summarily rejected an offer of $230, knows a tough mission is ahead. That's why he refused the offers. Refused to be paid to go? No, indeed. This man has a seat in the flight, and he wouldn't sell it to his clamoring associates for any amount. Have these men the will to fight? Yes. A yes has been written after the question on 100 battle scenes. Midway.
All right, here, I'll give you a hand.
I'm not getting out. Just came in to gas up. Well, come on. Get the gas in. I got to get back out there.
All right. Hope you got something to land on when you get back.
So do I.
For almost a day and a half before reports on the Battle of Midway could be correlated at a central point, the men of the Navy Air Arm landed and took off from the flat top ceaselessly, stopping only for gas and a gulp of coffee. All indications were that they had come up against a Japanese force of superior numbers, that defeat was but a matter of time. Their fighting spirit did not abate. In this battle, our Navy air fighters were to prove the axiom that free men fight more fiercely, even in face of defeat, or what seemed to be a defeat. For when reports began to gather at the Central Command, the picture of defeat faded before the tidings of the victory at Midway. Our picture of the Navy airmen of World War II is about completed. We have only to learn for what they fight. Do they fight for narrow, selfish insularism, or for the common cause of the United Nations? This is an answer. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, on June 11th, 1943, the radio man at the United States Naval Air Station fingers his dials, seeking the patrol plane frequency more exactly. Outside the windows, low scud and fog patches deaden the sky. The sea offshore is heavy with long swells. The temperature at this latitude is 7 degrees below freezing. Now a voice is heard in the patrol plane frequency.
PBY 7273 to base. Sighted RAF dinghy 1 hour ago. Plane crew looks okay. We're going down to pick them up now. Going down to pick them up now.
Cut the transmitter.
Think it's going to go all right, Doug?
That's a cinch. May have been an hour wasted studying the problem. It's better to be safe. It's pretty heavy weather to make a water landing without giving it a lot of thought.
Yeah, poor devils down there. Man, I'll bet they're cold.
Going to take a long run in. Here goes.
The sea airman's run along the top of a long, broad master swell is perfectly calculated. Midway in the landing rung, a cross wave hooks a wingtip, swings the big craft, and flings it into an adjoining wave.
Dodge! Look out!
Bow split, green water rushed in, and in 15 minutes, PBY 7273 sank into the dark waters as the crew of 9 watched from 2 rubber life rafts. The men in the RAF dinghy paddled over, but they soon were separated from the rubber boats by heavy seas and darkness. All hands were constantly drenched with icy spray. On the first evening, 2 men died of exposure. On the second day, 3 more followed. On the third day, the survivors saw flares and off in the fog thought they heard a plane take off. They talked about it quite a lot. That was the night the Royal Air Force men were picked up. On the 4th day, 2 more men died. On the 6th, another. And on the 7th, the one survivor was saved.
These men did not for one moment question their responsibility, nor try to deny the bonds of brotherhood that unite your nation and ours in this common cause.
At a memorial service held for the crew of PBY 7273, a few days later at the U.S. Naval Air Station, United States Navy airmen were not surprised to see an RAF chaplain assisting their own, to find the church and the yard outside filled with silent Royal Air Force pilots and mechanics.
Our blinking newspapers will think of a better way to say it, Yank, but they can't mean it any more than we do. We'd 1,000 times have rather it been one of us.
And as the men of 2 nations united in a common cause shake hands, we have the final victory of our United States Navy flyer in World War II. Believers in the universal right, in the stake of each in the future of humanity, in the brotherhood of man. Ensign William R. Evans, Jr., of Torpedo Squadron 8, wrote a letter to a friend that speaks the thoughts of our men who fight on Navy wings. His letter was written a few days before he was reported missing in the Battle of Midway in June of 1942.
If anything good or great has been born of this war, it should not be valued in the pages that historians will attempt to write, but rather in the youth of our country who were never trained for war and who almost never believed in war, but who have, from some hidden source, brought forth a gallantry which is homespun. It's so real. I say these things to you because I know you liked and understood boys, and because I want you to know that they haven't let you down. Out there, between the spaceless sea and sky, American youth has found itself and given of itself, so that a home spark may catch, burst into flames, burn high. If our country takes these sacrifices with indifference, it will be the cruelest ingratitude the world has ever known. Remembering the countless happy hours I spent with all of you has been a constant source of contentment. My luck can't last much longer, but the flame goes on, And only that is important.
As a fitting close to the Battle Station series, we present Vice Admiral John S. McCain, Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Air, who speaks to you from Washington.
Less than 2 months after the war began, carrier-based planes struck viciously at the Marshall and Gilbert Islands. The destruction they left behind them was repeated at enemy-held Wake and Marcus Islands. Action at Solomora and Leh knocked out Jap cruisers, destroyers, transports, and cargo ships. This was done again at Tulagi. Then followed the historic battles at the Coral Sea, Midway, and Guadalcanal. And as the Allied drive against the Axis strengthened, Navy planes saw gallant action in North Africa and the Aleutians. Navy and Army flyers helped beat off the aerial counterattacks by which the enemy tried to block the start of the present Pacific offensive, the occupation of Brandova. During the first 9 days of this drive to capture Munder, nearly 200 Jap planes were destroyed. A 5-to-1 ratio of planes destroyed in the Pacific is not uncommon. Our pilots are keen, competent, and brave. Their equipment and their crews are equally top flight. As naval aviation reaches its 30th anniversary, huge and powerful task forces will seek the enemy to destroy him. The best planes, the best ships, and the best men are working together to that end. Such teamwork points only one way: unconditional surrender of the enemy after we have battered their strength to a pulp.
Thank you, Admiral McCain. This has been the final in a series of 4 programs prepared by the Special Events Department of NBC in cooperation with the United States Navy. The script was written by Charles Gussman. The music composed, scored, and directed by Leo Kempinski. The production was directed by Joseph Mansfield. Jack Costello speaking. Battle Stations came to you from Washington and New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company.